Hi, my name is Mike Lanesman. Today's Photoshop tutorial is an interesting one. It deals with the blending modes of the brush tool. And this is the brush tool right over here. Before we begin, let's decide on the appearance of our brush, how it's going to look. From the Photoshop menu on a Mac, we find the preferences. On a Windows computer, you would find that under the Edit menu. Let's go straight down to the cursors option. By default, you'll find it's normally set in normal brush tip. We will set for full size brush tip and show crosshairs in the brush tip. You will see the crosshair when we start painting and the relevance of it. We now need to decide on the size that we want our final product to be. For that, we need to create a new document or a new digital canvas. We achieve that by going onto the File menu and selecting the New option. This is where our sizing and resolution is going to be set. I will decide for this tutorial, we'll set the width at 6 inches and the height at 4 inches. Concerning resolution, we set the resolution for 72 pixels per inch, and it is not referred to as dots per inch. Dots per inch is referred to when you have a final printed product relating to how many dots of ink can fit into a square inch on the printed product. However, when we're dealing with screen resolution, it's how many pixels per square inch, and screen resolution is always set for 72 pixels per inch. Where your final delivery will be to a screen, we set the resolution to 72. Where you're going to litho print or photographic print, we set the resolution at 300. This will immensely change your file size. So for now, our final product will be delivered on screen. We set it for 72 pixels per inch. Background contents we will make transparent. We set for transparent so that our final product will allow us to insert other images behind it on completion, which we're going to get to in this tutorial. That being set up, and having learnt a bit of the theory, let's click on the OK button. The grey dots behind the squares indicate that this is a transparent canvas. To start off with, I'll need to select a color to paint with. Right at the outset, I'd like to explain that this is one of the illustrative effects that are possible with Photoshop. So to set a foreground color, this is your foreground background color options. I will click once on the foreground and I will now invoke the color picker. Please note, if I wish to select any color, this is merely the neighborhood of the color that you wish to select. To actually pick a color, you need to move the cursor into the color picker and choose a color from there. That color being chosen, we say OK. We now see that the foreground color has been changed. We will now select the brush tool, and from the options bar where it is indicating mode, click on that list and choose the difference mode. A few things to understand now about our setup of the cursor, of our cursor preferences. We would like to change the brush size, which can be done from the options bar up here. We can make it smaller and then we give it a test on the canvas. It may be too small, that may be too large, and we've got the hardness of the brush. Let me just indicate to you the difference. A hard brush will draw with a stroke like that, and a soft brush will draw with a stroke like that. Edges much softer. We have a shortcut key that Adobe provide us with so that we can adjust the sizing of the brush and the hardness and softness on the fly or relative to our working document. These two keys are located to the right of the letter P on your keyboard, and they are the square bracket keys. The right square bracket key will make the brush bigger, and the left square bracket key makes the brush smaller. To change the hardness or the softness of the brush, we hold the Shift key. And while holding the Shift key, we can tap on the right square bracket. It makes the brush harder. And Shift and tapping on the left square bracket key makes the brush softer. We will set the brush size in context to about that size because that looks good. We're in difference mode, and I will start drawing some waves. This is why we set the crosshair in the brush tip. We would like these brush strokes to overlap. And more or less, if we don't get it right first time, we just keep painting. Now, wherever you see these black lines, because that is what happens in the brush blending mode of difference, we paint again. And we keep painting, and this is an additive effect. And as you paint over those intersecting brush strokes, so you're getting this blue, velvety look and feel of your illustration. And we fill up the canvas. We don't want to see any of that grey canvas behind. This being said, and this being having been done, we could use this as a web button. We could use it as a background for a web banner. We could also use it to simulate a photo frame. How would we do that? We would have to make a selection. A selection would select pixels that we want to adjust, either delete them, adjust them, or affect them in some other way. Heading over to the toolbar, we will choose the rectangular marquee tool to achieve this. I will click and drag from the top left to the bottom right to draw out the selection that I require. We now have these little lines or marching ants that indicate that the center pixels are selected. All I need to do now is press the backspace key. And to get rid of the selection, I need to deselect it from the select menu. I can also use the shortcut key of Command plus D or Control D on a Windows computer. Bringing in the Layers panel, what we could do now is to get it looking more like a photographic photo frame. From the FX menu, we will add what's called a layer style. And we will use the bevel and emboss option. I'm happy with the default as it is right now, but I am able to change the depth of that bevel. I'm able to change the size of it. I think what needs to be said here is keep it real, guys. Don't overdo it. And then we're able to soften it as well. And we click OK. Noticing in the Layers panel, at any point, if I wish to adjust this bevel and emboss, I can simply double click on the wording and up come the options again. Okay, this is why we selected a transparent canvas, so we have transparency in the background. I'm now able to bring in an image into this illustration. I've just brought an image in of a landscape. And using the Edit Free Transform tool, or Command plus T, or Control plus T, I am able to scale this appropriate to the new illustration. Holding the Shift and the Alt key will resize all four corners towards the center simultaneously. When I have resized it, simply press the Return or the Enter key, and we can clearly see an error. The image is above the photo frame. It needs to be under the photo frame. Simply click on this layer, drag it below the illustration layer, and there we have our photo frame and our image. I'm now able to, if I'm selected on this layer, I'm able to move that image around and put it in position to how I'd like it to be. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Please check out mikelanesman.com for further tutorials. I'll certainly keep posting more. Thank you for watching.